of Commerce and Department of Economics with IQAC and Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Baruipur College jointly organized state-level seminar on human values and professional ethics. And today we have with us Professor Dr. Prithvish Bodh, Professor, Department of Management, School of Business and Economics, Adams University. Uh, First of all, I will request our principal, Dr. Surya Prakash Agarwala, to give a welcome address. Over to you, sir.
নমস্কার সবাইকে, ভেরি গুড মর্নিং টু এভরিওয়ান। আজকে যে বিদ্যানগর কলেজের কমার্স ডিপার্টমেন্ট, আইকিউএসি ডিপার্টমেন্ট অফ ইকোনমিক্স, তার সঙ্গে বারুইপুর কলেজের যৌথ উদ্যোগে যে একদিবসীয় রাজ্য স্তরের যে সেমিনারটা অর্গানাইজ হচ্ছে, সবাইকে এই সেমিনারে আমি স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি। আর এই সেমিনারে খুব সুন্দর একটা টপিক, এটা আমার অনেক দিনের একটা ইচ্ছা ছিল এই ধরনের একটা সেমিনার হওয়ার, যে হিউম্যান ভ্যালুস অ্যান্ড প্রফেশনাল এথিক্স। জীবনে বাঁচার জন্য বা জীবনে যে কোনো একটা কর্পোরেট সংস্থাকে গ্রো করার জন্য প্রফেশনাল এথিক্স কতখানি প্রয়োজনীয়, আজকে আমাদের বিদগ্ধ প্রফেসররা আছেন যারা এটা নিয়ে আলোচনা করবে। কিন্তু এটা আমরা জানি যে যতগুলো ধরনের আমরা সেমিনার বা যতগুলো ধরনের দেখেছি, যতগুলো সংস্থা পৃথিবীতে তৈরি হয়েছে, বা যদি এনজিও আমরা দেখি, বেশ কিছু আমি এনজিও দেখছিলাম, বিশেষ করে রামকৃষ্ণ মিশন 150 বছর ধরে এই সংস্থাতে টিকে আছে। তো আমি ভাবলাম যে অনেক সময় স্টাডিটা করলাম যে কিভাবে টিকে আছে 150 বছরে। দেখা গেছে অনেস্টি অ্যান্ড ইন্টিগ্রিটি আর তার সঙ্গে হচ্ছে ট্রান্সপারেন্সি, এটা হচ্ছে মেইন এর ড্রাইভিং ফোর্স, যে একটা সংস্থা 150 বছর 200 বছর ধরে টিকে থাকে। তেমনি আমরা সেই এক্সাম্পল যদি আমরা দেখি, বিভিন্ন টাটা গোষ্ঠী বা এই ধরনের যে গোষ্ঠীগুলো আছে যেগুলো উত্থান করেছে, তার মধ্যে মেইন হচ্ছে হিউম্যান ভ্যালুস আর তার সঙ্গে হচ্ছে প্রফেশনাল এথিক্স মেনটেন করেই করেছে। আমরা গুগলকেও তাই দেখি, বিশ্বের বাজারে যারা মানে পুরো দাপিয়ে বেড়াচ্ছে ব্যবসায়, তার মধ্যে মেইন সেই সংস্থাগুলোই দাঁড়িয়েছে যাদের মধ্যে প্রফেশনাল এথিক্স আছে। যাদের মধ্যে এথিক্স নেই তারা হয়তো সাময়িকভাবে কিছু রোজগার করতে পেরেছে, কিন্তু দীর্ঘকালীনভাবে টিকে থাকা বা তাদের সঙ্গে যোগাযোগ হওয়া অত্যন্ত কঠিন হয়ে পড়েছে। মানে কোনো একটা সংস্থা হয়তো ফুলে ফেপে উঠেছে, 2 বছর 3 বছরে কাজ করে হঠাৎ পয়সা করে নিয়েছে, কিছুদিন পরে দেখা হলো লোকেরা কিন্তু ধীরে ধীরে সরে যাচ্ছে, হয় কাস্টমাররা সরে যাচ্ছে বা ওর থেকে যে ওর সঙ্গী সাথীরা যারা ছিল, যারা এই সংস্থার সঙ্গে যুক্ত, তারা সরে যাচ্ছে। এই সংস্থা টিকে থাকা খুব মুশকিল। যদি প্রফেশনাল এথিক্স থাকে, অনেস্টি থাকে, ইন্টিগ্রিটি থাকে, ট্রান্সপারেন্সি থাকে, আর যদি সঠিক জিনিসটা আপনি সঠিক দামে সঠিক লোকের কাছে পৌঁছাচ্ছেন, তার সঙ্গে বিহেভিয়ার যদি আপনার ঠিক থাকে, যে কোনো সংস্থায় দীর্ঘকালীন ভাবে টিকে থাকবে। আজকে প্রীতিশ বাবু আছেন, তারা বক্তব্য রাখবেন, বা অন্যান্যরা যারা আছেন, বারুইপুর কলেজে যারা আছেন, সবাই বক্তব্য রাখবে। আমাদের কলেজে ইকোনমিক্স ডিপার্টমেন্ট, কমার্স ডিপার্টমেন্টকে আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাই এই ধরনের একটা জ্বলন্ত একটা টপিক নিয়ে একটা আলোচনা করার জন্য। আর এইটা আমার মনে হয় প্রত্যেক সিলেবাসের পার্টও হওয়া উচিত, যে কোনো স্কুল কলেজের একটা পার্ট এই প্রফেশনাল এথিক্স বা হিউম্যান ভ্যালুস এর উপরে থাকা উচিত। যে কোনো, যে হারে সমাজের অবক্ষয় হচ্ছে, হিউম্যান ভ্যালুস যত কমছে তত আমাদের সমাজের অবক্ষয় হচ্ছে, এটা খুব জরুরি বিষয়। আজকে এই যে জাতীয় স্তরে যে মানে স্টেট লেভেলে যে সেমিনারটা হচ্ছে, সেটার আমি সাফল্য কামনা করছি। এটা অত্যন্ত ভালো, সুচারু হোক, আর এটাকে স্টোর করে রাখা হোক, দীর্ঘকালীন রূপে আমাদের ওয়েবসাইটেও রেকর্ড করে রাখা হোক, কারণ এই ধরনের জিনিস আমাদের অত্যন্ত প্রয়োজন। আজকে যারা বক্তব্য রাখবেন তাদেরকে আমি স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি কলেজের তরফ থেকে। আর এই ধরনের সেমিনার অনেক অনেক হোক, আমাদের সমাজের অনেক অনেক উপকার হোক, এই বলে আমার বক্তব্য শেষ করছি।
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your welcome speech. Now I request our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Urunima Rai Choudhury, to say few words regarding the seminar.
Thank you, Gaurav. Good morning to everyone. I would like to start by paying regards to our principal, Dr. Surya Prakash Agarwala, and the IQAC of the Baruipur College, and the entire Department of Commerce and Department of Economics, Vidyanagar College, in this seminar, and my students too. And today, state level seminar in online mode is going to be held on human values and professional ethics. It's organized by the Department of Commerce and Department of Economics in association with IQAC Vidyanagar College, jointly with the Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Baruipur College. And to impart new insights into the topic, which is a very pertinent one according to me, we have the august presence of Professor Dr. Prithvish Bodh, Professor, Department of Management, School of Business and Economics, Adams University. A very warm welcome to you, sir, in our seminar. And I wish the seminar grand success. Thank you, everybody. I'd like to depart. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thanks a lot for your speech. Now I request Dr. Durga Ganguly, IQAC coordinator, Baruipur College, to say a few words regarding the seminar. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you were audible, ma'am.
A very good morning, or should I say, a very good afternoon to everyone present here. I have the honor to speak on behalf of our principal, Dr. Chanchal Kumar Mondal, who is away on a very important work, so he couldn't attend the seminar today. So I am speaking on behalf of him. We are really thankful, we at Baruipur College, we are really thankful to the principal of Vidyanagar College, as well as the organizers of the state level seminar on human values and professional ethics, for giving our college a chance to collaborate with them on such an important issue. This topic has much relevance, especially in today's world, where individuals are losing their integrity and human values due to the lack of professional ethics in the academic field. We are also grateful to Dr. Pitfish Bose, Department of Management at MS University, for his upcoming lecture in this session, which we assume will be of great help to all the academicians and the scholars alike. So I wouldn't like to carry forward with much. I don't want to linger on this topic much, because we are expecting Dr. Bose to highlight and speak on this topic. So thank you all once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your speech. Now I request our senior professor from Department of Economics, Professor Shomit Chattopadhyay, to say a few words regarding the seminar.
Good morning to everybody, and pranam to all the seniors, my senior colleagues, all the fellow teachers present in the seminar. I would like to just point out some pertinent points which I got yesterday from internet. The list of human values include love and compassion, peace, truth, non-violence, righteousness, coexistence, renunciation, and service, respectful to others. And the professional ethics, the domain of professional ethics covers integrity, trusteeship, harmony, accountability, inclusiveness, and commitment. Now, I have a dilemma here. I am eager to listen to Professor Pritish Bose, who is going to deliver his lecture on this topic. I go to a bank. I try to open a savings account, as simple as that. The person who is supposedly very much ethical would push me to get a life cover along with the savings account. This is corporate ethics or integrity, I don't know. Apple makes an iPhone worth $112 while making. It is selling it at $1,000 to people. Making a profit is the sole motive of any corporate entity. But is it like this? When we purchase a phone, we know that phone would last not more than 3 to 4 years, because the company is not going to give us more update on the operating system. Recently, we saw the theatrics of a senior cluster manager from a big corporate bank who was pushing and virtually abusing all his junior colleagues for meeting up the targets. Now, there is this dilemma. There is this human values, there is compassion, love, peace, truthfulness, righteousness, and there is this other part of the coin where people would push people in corporate sector to achieve targets which are sometimes impossible to achieve. And in order to sell some things, you have to tell a certain bunch of lies to make people to make this thing sellable. It's my question to Dr. Pritish Ghosh. I think through his lecture, he would clarify these dilemmas which we face every day. So thank you, sir. Over to you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request my colleague, Professor Orna Day, to introduce sir to our very special lecture for the lecture to our participants.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce Professor Dr. Prithvi, who is an eminent professor at the Department of Management, School of Business and Economics of the prestigious Institute, of which fortunately I am a part too, and the same will follow. A very warm welcome, sir. Dr. Prithvi is a seasoned professional with nearly 3 decades of managerial experience across various industries. He holds a doctoral degree from Accelerate Jamshedpur, where he also has obtained the PG diploma in business management. Additionally, he completed his BTech from IIT Dhanbad. Throughout his career, Dr. Bose has excelled in driving sustainable revenues and profits, establishing new businesses, and revitalizing underperforming ones. He possesses expertise in strategic planning, business development, team leadership, and alliance building. Dr. Bose has held significant roles in quality management initiatives, including the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award and TQM activities. He has worked in multinational corporations, Fortune 500 companies, and top Indian business houses, gaining extensive exposure to the IT, office automation, paints, and telecom industries. Dr. Bose later transitioned to academics, teaching at renowned management institutes and universities in India. His research focuses on consumer behavior with numerous publications in reputed journals and conferences. He has also served as a reviewer for prestigious international journals. Dr. Bose has held various administrative positions and organized numerous conferences and seminars and workshops. So that's a very short, brief introduction of you, sir. So, very warm welcome to this seminar. I will just over to Gaurav, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Orna. Now, we are not going to waste a single time. We request our sir, Professor Dr. Prithvi Bose, to start your lecture, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Namaskar. And to Orna, madam, I'd like to say that your introduction does paint me in a better light than I actually am. But thank you for your brief introduction. And my best wishes to all the students. Are the students also available here, or only faculty are there?
No, 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 sir. Both students and faculty, both.
Students are also there. So, warm welcome to the students, and also my respect to the all the faculty members, starting from the principal Vidyanagar College, the honorable IQAC coordinators, both from Vidyanagar College and Baruipur College, and all the other august faculty members who are here. Now, I plead guilty because I thought that it will be primarily the audience would be made out of students. So, when I created this small presentation, I had in mind that it is meant for students who are probably students of the first or the second year. So, the entire concept has been diluted, shortened. It all came out of a course that we teach in human values and professional ethics. It is a compulsory course in the university. This is made compulsory also by AICTE and also by UGC. So these courses have recently been introduced. So this is a 20-hour course. It is a very, very diluted version of that, say 5 to 10% of what is taught in the course. But some basic principles is what actually I have brought here for statement. For deeper and more meaningful discussions, maybe we'll have to look for another opportunity. Professor Chattopadhyay has brought up some very interesting issues, and as a person who's been in the industry for a long time, I plead guilty to some of them. However, let me assure him that things are changing,
And although profit is one of the most important motives for being in business, it is not the only motive in an enlightened organization today. And that is why we teach our students these concepts not only of human values and professional ethics, but about corporate governance, about corporate social responsibilities, and the organization of tomorrow, which can be a sustainable organization, will have to always operate by these principles if they wish to operate in the long term. But yes, that is what we try to teach our students when they go out in the industry. What the practice is ultimately left to them. Sometimes, they carry out practices which are not in consonance with what the professional ethics expects out of them. So, with that brief, sort of admission of culpability, let me start off with a small presentation. One second. Is the screen visible?
Partly,
Yes,
partly.
it is
It is
partly
not
visible.
partly.
Yes,
Okay. Uh, I made it full screen. Is it visible now?
it's showing human
Yes, sir, it
values
is
and
visible, sir.
It is visible now. Hmm? Thank you. So let me start. Now, as I said, it is a very, very diluted part of the course that we teach to the students. So this, as the name signifies, we talk about two issues here, primarily human values and also professional ethics. And since I am given to understand that most of the students present here are from the commerce and economic streams, so I will also spend a little time on the business ethics part of it. So ethics as applicable to business. So this is how I have broken up the presentation. We first talk a little about human values, and then we discuss professional ethics, and within that, a few slides on business ethics. So when we talk human values, what are the important human values we talk about, or what is value? A value which is called a human value is something which should promote well-being or prevent harm to people. So that is the easiest way of looking at a value. And the advantage of having humans having these kind of value is that ability of humans to define their identity, choose the values that they wish to practice and propagate, and establish their beliefs. So as human beings, we have the gift of being able to decide on our own how to lead our lives, how to practice the various professions that we have, and how to change society. So these are some of the unique abilities that humans have. The other animals and may not be able to do such things on their own. So these values actually influence a person's behavior, and these values are not constant. So the values will change over a period of time because societal norms change. So norms of society today accept LGBT behavior as a behavior which is there. A group of people who are there, they are normal human beings like us with some differences in certain areas. But however, 200 or 300 years back, the things were very different. So the norms, societal norms will change. So human values will also accordingly have to change because it's a product of the societal norms. Secondly, these norms, these values are also developed or modified over a period of time. As people become more aware, they are exposed to more choice, and they're able to exercise their judgment. They will also modify their thinking. So when we are children, we grew up with certain things. When you go to the world and get exposed, then some of the values that we actually hold, the degree of the value, the kind of value we are talking about may also change. And there are a group of people who are gurus, religious leaders, saviors, people who have huge influence on others, they also, through their teachings, can modify the value systems. And therefore, ultimately, also through government, through the rulers, through social leaders, the values can change. So, values, as we understand, are not constant, but there are some basic values which are always applicable. The way they are practiced, the degree to which they are held important, will be modified depending on how society evolves, how the individual evolves, and how the other, people, other influencers such as the religious leaders or government or social leaders, they shape our thoughts. Now, coming to human values, we will talk about a few of them. There are many human values, and we cannot really talk of all of them. A few of them actually is what I'd like to present, and I'll briefly talk about it. Of course, it is not a sort of a academic thesis, so it is just a way of explaining the basic concept. So, first comes character, the character of a human being. So, character actually can be seen as a bundle of attributes, a bundle of attributes which actually will determine the how the person will act or respond to situations. So, basically, we are here concerned about the moral and ethical actions that the person will take and what responses he or she will have to certain situations. So, for example, that thing came up. The gentleman of this bank, I don't want to name the bank, was abusing his colleagues. Now, that is, dependent on the character of the person. And the person, that the same communication, I am sure there are many other cluster managers in the bank or outside the bank in other banks who do the same thing differently. So it depends on how the person wishes to do it. It is also how he has learned from his peers and his superiors. But this character will determine how he will respond to that situation. So the character is the ground on which the morals and the value systems will blossom. So the character is the bedrock on which the values and moral systems will develop, and on the therefore a person's character will determine, if I give a value education, ultimately what will be the end result. And we tend to identify people through some characteristics which talk about the person's character, like a ruthless person, an aggressive person, ambitious, selfish, stingy, generous, etc., etc. So these are certain, sort of qualities that we associate with the person's character. These are some of the defining traits of their character. And individuals not only vary according to the character, but also the degree. Somebody may be, very professional, and a person who is professional to a great extent, some people will call him ruthless. So the degree of the character will also vary. So it's a function of ethics to determine the ideas. What actually should a person do in situations? So the ethics will determine the ideal. Ethics will give the, let's say, reference point on the basis of which a person's character will be judged, or a person will interact with the outside world or respond to these kind of external situations. So character traits actually are not one or two, they're all the aspects of a person's behavior and all the attitudes that come bundled along with it. And entire thing creates the personality of the human being. One has some character traits which are positive, some which are negative. So some positive character traits should be honest, loyal, devoted, kind, sincere, ambitious, satisfied, happy, cooperative. These are some of the positive character traits. Negative character traits could be dishonest, disloyal, unkind, mean, rude, disrespectful, obnoxious, grumpy, quarrelsome. So there are many others. So people will have a combination of both positive and negative character traits. Now, let me come to the next value that I want to talk about, which is the concept of integrity. And in the workplace, integrity is very important. Integrity has been defined as the unity of thought, word, and deed. So what you think and what you say is what you do. So that is a very simple definition of integrity. A person of integrity will not say something and do something and preach something else. So integrity is the unity of all these thought, word, deed, and open-mindedness. And the person should have the capacity to communicate factual information so that others can make well-informed decisions. He will not, or he or she will not say things on the basis of which people will come to wrong conclusions. The person will provide facts. If I know this person is a person of integrity and I want to take advice from him, he will tell me the things as they are. He will not tell me something which is going to ultimately lead to some benefit to the person that you are discussing with. It is not going to be modified. It is not going to be warped according to the needs of the person. The person will tell you the facts as they are. So these people enthuse others not only to do a job well, but to achieve excellence in performance. So this a person of integrity is always very excited about what he or she does. They're very excited in achieving excellence in the work that the person is doing. It has them own responsibility for the job. So we have heard a lot of stories that look at, for example, when Arjuna was practicing, when even in the night, he used to keep on practicing with his bow and arrow. That is because he owned responsibility for learning and being the best archer that he can be. So these people with integrity own responsibility, and integrity will also, these people will also exhibit the qualities of honesty and dependability. There are two traits which are actually expected from them, and that is why these people are so much valued in workspaces. And it is they are people who are consistent, so they, what they preach they will practice. So these are some of the characteristics of people having integrity. And some examples, when you have, when you're in a working place, supposing there's a time when you are supposed to come to the office or to the college or to the university. So are you coming at the right time or are you not? When you coming here, those 8 hours you spend, are you spending on the work of the organization, or are you in the meanwhile, when nobody is noticing, you are spending your time doing something else? Maybe in Bombay, I find that half the people during lunchtime will be playing the share market. In other places, people will be gossiping. So these are the things which actually are noticed. A person of integrity will be working diligently when the time is there for working. They will follow policies laid down by the company. If the company policy says that you will actually, let's say, complete this task in a certain manner, these people will always follow policies. They will respect others, and the co-workers will also respect them in turn. And this will build trust between them. And they will always be exhibiting responsible behavior, making sure that there's no reason to question the conduct. And they will sometimes go beyond the normal requirements, and ensure that they are seen also not only doing it but seen to be doing things in the right way. So these are some of the traits of a person of integrity, and integrity is a very critical value which is really valued in the workplace. The next value that I want to talk about, also very important, is credibility. So credibility is that, when I say something, it has to be accepted as true. People will assume that, okay, this person is not going to say something which is not right, which is not factual, which is not correct, which is a lie. So some people, this credibility is built over time. People do not actually automatically get accepted as credible. People watch them and they compare what they do, what they say, and what actually happens. And over a period of time, people build trust in them. People start believing them. So what are the qualities of a credible person? One of them is lead by example. So whatever you say, you do. You can give lectures to others that, spend your weekends, meaningfully. Spend your weekends productively. During the weekends, please spend time on research, or please spend time on supporting underprivileged people. So whatever you say, people will watch. And if you're able to do what you are saying, then people will start believing you, They will start trusting in you and you become a credible person. This is one of the important traits of a credible person. Then say what you mean and mean what you say. So do not do what about it. If you are trying to say that I do not like this behavior, say that very clearly. And you should mean, then if you feel that this behavior is not acceptable, you have to be first to exhibit the fact that this behavior I will not accept. So, for example, in the workplace, you have situations with people who, I give an example that, I think it is not a right thing to do to spend your time playing the share market during office hours. And supposing I'm such a person, so I have to actually not only exhibit that by not doing it myself, but also trying to saying that I object to it if somebody else is doing. So you have to say what you mean and mean what you say, and follow through on your promises. Whatever thing if you say that okay, I will help you to do something better. You have to follow through so that people know that they can count on you.
Sir,
And yeah,
so can you please change the slides? The slides are not changing.
which one am I on?
Sir, it is showing the first slide only. The yes, sir.
Okay,
Now it's showing.
okay. If I put it on full screen, it is coming.
So it's not full screen. It's showing the. It's not the slideshow is not on. You can maybe ignore that.
Are you able to see this slide now?
Yes, the credibility slide is being shown right now. It's
But
fine.
if I change, just let me know when I change it. I go to the next slide. Let me know if it is changing. Otherwise, I'll come out of the slideshow.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So that's credibility, let's say. Then in the workplace, this is another value. Has it changed?
No, sir. It's not changing.
Okay. So I will come out of the slideshow mode. Let me try to make the slide bigger. This is too big. This is visible.
It is visible,
Is
sir.
this visible? Okay. So
Yes, sir.
yeah. So let's come to this other value. Respect for others in the workplace. So if you want to get respect, you give respect. That's the basic principle. So respect, as you know, is some feeling of admiration for somebody, to a person, or towards a group of people, or towards an ideal, or some concept. So respect is a feeling of admiration or deference. Now, respect is a basic requirement in workplace, but it is also basic requirement for having a friendship, working as a team, and because it promotes synergy. People know that they are respected. Not only they'll respect you back, they will be open in giving to you, making suggestions to you, doing as you suggest. So the principles that you can follow if you, want to exhibit this concept of respect for others, that first of all recognize and accept the existence of other human beings. They have all the same rights that you have, same right to live, to enjoy, all the advantages that you have to accept and recognize that the other people also have the same rights and advantages. Then very often, this is a problem which happens very often, everybody has ideas. Everybody may want to contribute something by making suggestions, or everybody may like to do something. Now, often when we work in a team, often when we work in groups, you find people have opinions. So this person actually talks a lot, or this person, you can't really depend on him. He does not understand the subject he's talking about. So these kind of situations are there. They will be there. They are real. But the most important part of respecting is let them say. Do not accept or approve. That is not necessary initially, but you have to listen. You have to give them the privilege, the platform to give their ideas, to contribute physically, to say what they want, So this is the basic respect. Whether the idea may be good or bad, that we will decide later. But the person has equal right to speak out. So this is something, this is an error that most of us actually make, especially in situations when we are under pressure. আরে এ তো শুধু টাইম ইউজ করছে, এসে আজে বাজে কথা আমরা এখন ডিসকাস করবো না, এখন উই নিড টু ডু সামথিং সিরিয়াসলি or whatever it is. The other person who is the at the end of this kind of discussion will not feel part of the group and will not feel, confident to contribute, and it will also impact the person's self-concept, his self-respect. All of them will be damaged. So when we talk respect for others, respect for everybody, regardless of whether he is in the same bracket in terms of academic knowledge or smartness or ability to speak or do whatever, but that person basically as a person should receive respect. And from there you come to the fact that all colleagues and subordinates actually have to be respected, and you have to show appreciation of what they do. Not doesn't mean that you do not criticize them, that if they make a mistake, but this criticism has to be done constructively so that it encourages them to try better next time and allow others to grow, show goodwill, and give space for everybody to improve. That is what we mean when we talk about the concept of respect for others. So I will talk about these values, and then later on we can have a discussion. These are, as I said, not exclusive. There are many other values which are important. But some of the values which are important in workplace, basically because we are talking about business students, these are some of the critical things that they will have to deal with once they go and join the industry. Then the question of dedication. So act of setting apart devotion to some special purpose. We can have dedicated teachers who are devoted to their subjects, to their students. Dedicated athlete will be dedicated to training and improving himself or herself. A dedicated doctor would be devoted towards, improving his skills and ability to, let's say, heal people. So dedication is a very critical part. So if you want to really contribute to society, if you want to contribute to your organization, dedication is a must. Another factor which people sometimes forget is perseverance. People do not give up easily, so keep trying. We may have many setbacks and many challenges, like the story of that spider which kept on spinning the web, and this is how this is story about the about Robert Bruce, when he kept on seeing the spider failing and again going on starting with the web again. So he kept on trying. Ultimately, he could organize enough resources to beat the English and throw them out of his country. So perseverance is critical, and perseverance is determining to keep going in the face of setbacks and challenges. It is actually inner drive. So you not giving up. When everybody says it's time to quit, do not give up. And this I've learned over a period of time during my work, also during my days in my working corporate life. It is never time to say, the game is never complete before the last ball has been bowled, and there is always time and opportunity to do something. It is a staying power to follow through and exert effort till the end is achieved. So if you cannot achieve it this time, try it again next time, and so on and on until you achieve it. And that means essentially you have to be committed to your goal. If you have the commitment, you keep on trying, and if your motivation level is high, no matter what happens, you continue to try it. So you persevere in what you try to do. Then we come to humility. Humility, actually, when you talk about here, I try to say that putting yourself in other person's shoes, seeing the other person's needs and putting his needs or her needs ahead of you, thinking of others before you do. That is one part of humility. That's a part of humility we do not only always realize, but that's a very important part of humility. Humble people are very well aware of themselves. It's not as if the humble people don't know their strengths. In fact, you need a lot of strength and ability to be humble. The, the most erudite people are the most humble if you come across. The most capable people you see, they're most humble because they're very confident about themselves. They are very confident, yet they are polite, they're firm in belief and actions, but they always put the other person's capability, other person's thought before themselves. So people with humility, uh, they know that they don't need to boast about these things they can do. They have confidence in themselves. So humble people, it has been seen, they handle stress much more effectively. They report higher levels of physical and mental well-being. So humility comes with capability. It is going hand in hand. And being humble gives a lot of benefits. So, for example, humble people are better able to cope with anxiety because they never need to brag about what this is I'm going to do. And people who brag, they have a tough time to keep up with what they say. What is that image they have created about themselves? To be able to live up to that image is a huge pressure, and a lot of anxiety comes along with it. But humble people do not create that aura around themselves. They don't need to create that, so they don't need to deal with that anxiety, and they make excellent leaders. Humble leaders are not only better liked, but also more effective. And some of the best, greatest leaders are very humble. If you remember the earlier president, uh, Abdul Kalam, he was such a humble person. Time after time, he has taken, said things and done things. We saw how humble he is, and look at how much of respect, how much of love he has got. So humble leaders are very effective leaders, and humble people also are able to have a high self-control, and this is one of the key reasons for having a successful life anywhere, professional life or personal life. They perform better at work because humble people actually get a lot of suggestions from other people, and therefore it is not only they're not left to themselves to do the work, they are able to get feedback from so many other people who are there to help them. And as for students, humble students, what we have seen, they also get better grades. Humble people in organizations get better raises, they get promotions. This is something which is actually happens in real life. And you are less prejudiced, you're more helpful. And if you are humble, you build stronger and better relationships with people. So humility comes with a whole lot of benefits, and it pays to be humble. And however, humility does not mean less of capability. The most humble people are some of the most capable people that you can see around. Then, of course, there are certain issues like morality and spirituality which are there. Morality a person should have, even if the person is not spiritual. It is basically a system of beliefs, and it depends on some of the core values which are there in the person. And these are context driven. See, morality cannot be a law which is not, out of taken out of context. So, for example, if I am a moral person and I find that one of my employees actually is not capable, or let's say, has done something, a misdemeanor, it is wrong. I must actually take action against the person. But one has to see whether the person knew that it is an error. For example, somebody has uh, given a bribe to get business. It's something very common which happens in business. Now, as an organization and as a person, you feel that is an immoral act. But that person may not have known because maybe in his earlier organization that thing was acceptable. So the person definitely is at fault, but the fault has to be seen in context because he thought it is acceptable activity. So whatever action you take, you have to take it in context. So all this morality has to be context driven. It cannot be taken in isolation. So another way of looking at morals are the principles. These are principles which have been enunciated by wise people since ages, based on their wisdom, based on their experience, and these were changed, edited, modified to suit the maybe the geography, the let's say the particular milieu, the society of that era, and more developed in knowledge, in science, technology, etc. So morality has also gone through a lot of modifications. So what is considered immoral today may not have been considered immoral say 100 years back or 500 years back. And what was considered immoral 500 years back may not be considered immoral today. So it has been contextualized and it has been modified and it has evolved over a period of time. But essentially, what does it look at? It gives us certain rules of conduct. What should I do in this situation? So it gives me a rule that what is the right thing to do, what is the right or wrong about handling of a situation, and what is good about people or policies or ideas, what is bad about people, policies, ideas. So it is essentially, it helps us with a decision rule. It helps us in taking decisions in these kind of tricky situations. So if a person has a well-developed morality, it becomes easier for him or her to take decisions in these kind of situations. And then we have the concept of conscience. Anybody who has studied moral science, has been exposed to this. So I don't want to talk too much about it. But a lot of people say it can be simply called the inner voice. Anything that we all know, there's something inside us. What that is, we don't know. Some say it is God's voice. Some say it is a sum total of all our values and cultures, which is coming ahead and telling us what to do. But everything, that little voice comes and says that it is right or wrong. Whenever we do something wrong, there's something which tells us. So it is more than a gut instinct. It is actually a moral muscle. And the conscience, which is well formed by education, experience, and education. I'm not talking about only formal education, education at home, because people start learning morals and ethics from their home. And we in the schools and the colleges, we can only modify it, because by that time 80% is already created. So conscience which has been well formed and well informed, because today it is not only that whatever you learn for the first 15 or 20 years of your life, but you have to get a lot of information. You have to be aware of facts, evidence. So have to be well formed and well informed, and enable us to know ourselves, our world, and act and interact accordingly. That's what essentially what I'd like to call conscience. And then, of course, spirituality. Some people have the ability to be spiritual. All of us have some spirituality within us. Some people may be religiously oriented, some are not. But even those who are agnostics have some sort of, moral compass, which tells them, this is what they should do, what they should not. This is a philosophical position, whether you are religious or not religious. But people who have this spirituality within them, they have this recognition of a spiritual dimension, and who feel there's a dynamic balance between material development and spiritual development. And some of them indulge in these practices like meditation, prayer, contemplation, etc., which help them develop their inner life. And it is often experienced as a source of inspiration or orientation in life. I'm not a very spiritual person, so I cannot talk more than that. But the blessed are those people who have the spirituality. So these are in short, some of the values that are important in shaping who we are, how we interact with others, how we interact with society, and how we develop as a person. Now, that brings us to the concept of ethics. Now, ethics are actually, I've not gone by any particular definition, but I look at ethics as, again, a decision rule, which tell us what is right, what is wrong. These are certain moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conduction of an activity. It is essentially a theory or system of moral values. So morality is connected with ethics. They actually grow on each other. And it is a branch of philosophy. It is also a philosophical position, and of course not going into the theory. There are many theories of ethics. So it's a branch of philosophy that involves making a systematic, these moral values or the systems, defending and recommending concepts of right and wrong behavior. So these are the end results of how a society develops and decides on what is right and what is wrong. So as a student, for me, it is enough to understand that it is something that tells me what is right and what is wrong. It shows me the way. when I come across a junction, which way should I go? Now, we have a concept called moral dilemmas also. Now, sometimes, the right and wrong are not so easily understood. These are situations where morals will come into conflict. When application of moral values and problems, one is not clear of what is the immediate choice or immediate solution. And it could be rights and duties, goods, obligations, they can be clashing. So, for example, I am rushing to, let's say, work, and I have a commitment that I have to deliver a talk at, let's say, 11 o'clock today. And on the way, I find a person by the roadside who has been, the victim of an accident. And it is also my duty to ensure that the person gets medical attention. But if I take the person to the hospital, then I will not be able to do or fulfill my commitment of giving this talk, or let's say addressing the seminar, as I have already committed. So I have a dilemma. Both are important, but which one should I do? So this is a complex situation. So dilemmas are situation, and there are very many of them which can happen. Life is not black and white. So there are situations where you will face these problems, and these dilemmas make things complex. So there are three basic kinds of problems with the dilemmas. One is the problem of vagueness, that one is not able to really distinguish between what is the good and what is the bad, or what is the right or what is the wrong principle. So if it is vague, one has to think and understand better to be able to take a decision. The problem could be that of conflicting reasons. We are unable to choose between the two good moral situations like I just described. A person that has to be hospitalized or a lecture which has to be delivered. One has to fix priority. And this priority will come to you through the knowledge or the value system that you have imbibed. So your value system which you have got from your family, from your society, from your teachers, and also the knowledge that you have acquired gives code to fix the priority. And the third kind of complexity could be problem of disagreement. So there can be two or more solutions, and you have to choose. The solutions can actually, usually they are better in works in some respects, but not in all respects. So you have to look at the satisfying, the best solution, the most ideal solution under the existing situation. And then you may also have to forecast what are the probable conditions which will lead to the situation. It sounds a little complicated, but for example, going back to the same thing that I discussed, whether the person is injured lying on the roadside, you may see other people are also rushing. You may see there is a hospital next door and they'll be able to take. So then your decision becomes easy, then you can proceed. Or is it possible to talk to the organizers and, let's say, reschedule the talk, maybe half an hour later or 1 hour later? So these are the situations, these are the aspects which you have to examine and understand. Sometimes you have to also work on it to find the best possible solution. So there are complexities. Complexity is the problem of vagueness, where you have to use your intellect to be able to understand good and bad. The conflicting reasons where you are really unable to choose difficult situation, but discuss, understand better, look at other solutions, and you may be able to find a good solution to the dilemma. So that brings this another tool which actually helps you to take these kind of decisions and create confusion is a code of professional ethics. Now, what is a profession? It is actually an occupation which organizes itself into a profession. So, profession of doctors, profession of engineers. We would like to call ourselves also profession of management practitioners, profession of accountants. So these are many professions are there, and the professions sometimes organize themselves into a group, and they will create the rules of how they are expected to actually conduct themselves. So it could be engineers who will organize themselves in a certain way, and it could be medical practitioners will organize themselves in a certain way. So because the professions are different, the kind of work that they do are different, so therefore the rules and the codes are also going to be different. But what are the basic advantages also there? One is that responsible professionals are always supported by these kind of codes. Who act ethically have more positive support through these codes. Secondly, education and mutual understanding. These codes are widely circulated and officially approved by these societies. So the group as a whole shares an understanding that this is how it is to be done, and this is shared with the public and the government organization also. So these codes may have some kind of discussion and reflection, etc., but it clarifies the understanding of not only the people within the profession but outside the profession. They also act as a matter of discipline and deterrence. So professionals who fail to follow the codes, they are easily seen as exhibiting unethical conduct, and therefore there are certain actions which are taken. Sometimes it is formal action, sometimes it is informal actions of exclusion from the group. And these codes actually also contribute to the image of the profession. People outside the profession, they start respecting the profession. So they understand these people are serious about what they do, and they have already charted out the ways in which they want to conduct themselves. So uh, uh, main advantages are it sets out the ideals and responsibilities of the profession and exert a de facto regulatory effect of protecting both clients and professionals. So, a medical professional ethics will also consider the situation as it relates from the perspective of the doctor and from the perspective of the patient. It will improve the profile of the profession itself. It's going to be seen as a serious profession. Accounting profession, they have organized themselves. They have this institution of chartered accountants, cost accountants, which induct people into the profession. They teach others. So they have been human service to the nation and the society by doing that. So they are not only developing the profession, they're developing society as a whole. They will also motivate and inspire practitioners by telling them the reason for their existence, the most important reason, the purpose of the practitioner. What is the purpose of a medical person? Why does a doctor exist? It's very important to know and then feel inspired by that. Provide guidance on acceptable conduct, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. There is no situation where there's no chance of a person by mistake doing something because the guidance is already there. It will also raise awareness and consciousness of issues, improve quality and consistency of the work done by the professional. So this simply is what I wanted to talk about, professional ethics. I will now delve into a little bit of business ethics because we are all business students here, and discuss a little bit about business ethics, and then we can discuss questions. So, what are the basic responsibilities of business? And I am very clear. One of the key responsibilities of business is economic responsibility. It's not only about making profit, but generating revenues, or let us say reducing costs. So it involves economics. So economic responsibility of business is one of the bedrocks of why a business organization exists. So this is one of the key responsibilities. If your business is not making profit, it is not sustainable. Tomorrow, all the good work you are doing, let's say supporting, let's say children, or supporting some privileged, underprivileged section of society, you cannot do that. So you have to first be sustainable, and to be sustainable, you have to be economic. So economic responsibilities are very critical. Then the legal responsibility, society organizing itself through the government of the day will create codes which are laws. And these laws are applicable to all organizations, and your organization cannot be outside the ambit of the law. Otherwise, the government or society through the government will close down your business. So legal responsibilities are there. You have to operate according to the legal responsibilities, the law of the land. But beyond that, what is businesses sometimes do not understand, but more and more it is becoming very popular. There are some social responsibilities of business. One is being ethical responsibilities, and one is discretionary. Discretionary responsibilities are very often related to the dilemmas that I discussed earlier. So sometimes it is not very clear what is the right thing to do, what is wrong thing to do. So any business head, manager will have to take these decisions very, very often, and one has to develop the tools for taking these kind of discretionary decisions. But these are the four basic responsibilities of business. Now, when we talk business, businesses, apart from creating financial capital, they also create something called a social capital. And what is social capital? It is the goodwill of key stakeholders. So there are a lot of students here. Any student can tell me what is a stakeholder? Anyone? Anyone like to tell me what is a stakeholder? Okay, let's forget that. So, assuming we will discuss this later. So, is it still visible?
So,
Yeah, yeah. Please.
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay, no problem. So, a stakeholder is somebody who is impacted by what the firm does, or who can impact what the firm does. So, for example, the employees are stakeholders, and the employees also can impact how the firm will perform. The customers are stakeholders. The suppliers are stakeholders. The government of the day is a stakeholder. So similarly, all people who are impacted by the actions of the firm are stakeholders, and they can, many of them in turn, impact the firm also, impact the how the firm performs. So this goodwill, if it is created among these people, it can be used for competitive advantages strategically. One of the ways it opens doors in local communities. When let's say a company wants to start, let's say a factory in an area, and people have a lot of appreciations. So there are certain kind of promoters that the local communities are supportive with. For example, the Tatas come to open a factory in your place, you'll be much more positively oriented than any other company, because they have created the social capital. This also helps in terms of the consumers, because you have a reputation with the consumers for providing quality products, being socially responsible organizations. So consumers also will be more comfortable buying products from these people. So these some of the benefits that are there, that because consumers are more likely to buy your products. If I want to buy salt and I don't know which brand is good or bad, and the shopkeeper shows me Tata salt versus some other salt, I will probably be feel safer to buy Tata salt, because I have some idea that these Tatas are responsible. So it's not specific to Tata, it happens to many organizations. So, but it allows the firm to charge some premium purchase, and therefore not only create brand loyalty but have greater profits. And also, because it is a organization which is seen as responsible to the stakeholder, it will have enduring relationship with suppliers, people who have been supporting the organization through the supplying the raw materials, other services, and also the distributors. So I used to work for a company called Godrej, where we had distributors who are been more than 100 years with the company. So these people, actually there is a third generation who are now acting as distributors. Imagine the kind of depth of relationship you can have, the advantages that actually you can derive out of that. Then it can attract outstanding employees. Great organizations have employees who want to join. So you have the advantage of not only getting best employees, you will also be able to retain them. So retention and attraction of outstanding employees. It has been, the research has established today that the current generation, among these, like the students that are here, they prefer to work in organizations which are socially responsible, organizations which are working in the area of sustainability. It has already been established. They attract outstanding people. And also the organizations can utilize the goodwill of public officials for support in difficult times. So all the local government is always associated with the business, because it provides jobs, it provides some kind of economic benefit to the society around it. So public officials will like to support an organization who's being responsible towards the local society, and this goodwill will translate in terms of supporting difficult times. So these are some of the advantages of being socially responsible. So it makes sense. It makes a lot of business sense to be socially responsible and to be an ethical organization. 1 second. Yeah, I was having some problem in the sharing. It is happening now. Yeah.
Yes, a slide is visible.
Okay. So, therefore, why is ethics and social responsibility important in business? Because ethical behavior and social responsibility can bring these benefits, which I've already discussed. Apart from the benefits I discussed, it will actually also attract investors. And the investors actually, when they're attracted, the company's share prices will be higher and protect the business from takeover. Not only that, it will be easier for them to get new capital, attract customers, and make employees want to stay with the business. So we try to summarize by talking about business ethics. It is the study of the appropriate business policies and practices regarding some controversial subjects, including corporate governance, insider trading, discrimination, bribery, corporate social responsibility, etc. These are all the things, gamut of things that it deals with. And it is important because it concerns individuals' moral judgments, and managers are individuals. And if the ethics is well established, then the judgments they will be very clear about what is right and what is wrong. And decisions taken within the organization also are influenced by the culture of the company. So this is how the culture of the company will also develop, because the series of decisions will be seen as the company's position, and people will understand that this is how the company operates, and managers will also operate accordingly. And ethical behavior can bring several benefits to the businesses, as I've already discussed earlier. And how do you encourage ethical behavior? Is one, as I said, by having a code of properly enunciated, properly developed code of ethics. It does the same jobs as the code of ethics of a profession. So it specifies how an organization expects its employees to behave while on the job, and clarifies companies' expectations of the employees' conduct in various situations, and makes clear that the company expects its people to recognize ethical dimensions in decisions and actions. So by establishing and publicizing and making sure everybody knows the code of ethics, it makes sure that everybody in the organization is on the same page and they take decisions which are ethical. And then we have another aspect of whistleblowers. This is a totally new aspect. These are employees who report illegal or unethical behavior. In India, we have the Whistleblowers Act. Of course, till today, it is applicable only to the government organizations and public sectors. It is not applicable to the private sector. But whistleblowers are also people who report this kind of unethical behavior and allow the company to take action and make these kind of changes. And lastly, before I close, there are some other new things which have come in, because now, because of the internet era, the cyber era, certain new issues have come up. Issues like privacy of property, security, accessibility, etc. So I will not spend much time on it. But the fact that today, because your data is there with everybody, not only just, let's say, your personal data is with the government, let's say with the with Aadhaar, or it is there with Google, it is there with many others. And therefore, it's a question of how ethically you want to use it. Google, it sells your data. You are aware of that. And this data can be used or misused by others. So what kind of data does an organization require about you? And what kind of data is extra? So these kind of things, this has become a huge issue, especially in the developed countries. And privacy is something that people actually are becoming very, very conscious about. So the organizations need to be careful about whether how much of private information is to be required, and what use they make of the requirement which is there. Similarly, in terms of security, when you are transacting, let's say you are doing a bank operation, what is the level of security that is there? Is somebody going to be able to do phishing and find out your credentials and withdraw money from your bank? Or is it that somebody can let's say when you are using an ATM, find out your password and later on misuse it? So security is another major aspect. Then, of course, questions of accuracy, because everything is now on the internet, and a lot of information is floating around which is not right, which is not correct, which is fake, and certain data which is also not 100% reliable. So this question of accuracy comes in, and it is important the organization to make sure whatever information they put out is accurate. And finally, accessibility, because we can have a new caste system by making some people giving full accessibility and others not being accessible. Even today, our internet penetration is far lower than what we'd expect. So that means so many people are excluded from the advantages of the internet. So when we had this COVID situation, we had people, we, or like any other university, organized classes online. But how many? Most of our students, of course, are well-to-do, so they had no problem. They were able to access online. But there are so many others who could not. So these are also bringing new issues. So when you talk about the new, kind of operation, new organization developing in the cyber era, there are a lot of new business issues which will come up. And so also it will come up in terms of globalization. And the globalization is not unidimensional. It is not only economic in nature, where capital-rich countries invest in countries which have not enough capital, or the resource-rich countries actually where people come for the other resources as a human capital. A lot of people from the developed countries come to India for human capital. But it is also a globalization of culture. So what we have seen as traditional Indian culture is changing, because we are exposed to global culture. So many of our people, wear jeans without really understanding that it is something which is, we got it from the Americans. But there's nothing wrong in that. This is how we will, mix with each other and improve. But in terms of globalization, we have political globalization also. Or the countries coming together, ASEAN, SAARC, APEC, European Union. So the huge impact of globalization also will bring into play the various ethical dimensions in various different countries. Now, when they become almost one, they have to merge and they have to create something out of all these separate thoughts. So there are issues where there could be a clash or misunderstanding of how a particular situation is to be dealt with. So these are the new dynamics which will be coming, and the as I said, the ethics and the values will keep changing. It will keep modifying. It will keep morphing, keep evolving, and that is how we will progress. So this is all what I wanted to say, and I'll stop sharing. If there are any questions, I'll be very happy to answer them. Yes, ma'am. I have completed my presentation. So if there are any questions, we can
Thank you,
discuss.
sir. Participant, if you have any query, you may ask your queries to sir.
Sir, this is Paramita Mojumdar. I am an assistant professor in Gurudas College, Kolkata.
Yes,
My
ma'am.
question is that it is my question coming out from some observation that when when your workplace lacks the attribute of inclusiveness, means it is found that some people are recognized as an important part in the progression of institution and some people are always left behind. Now my question is how to cope up with such situation.
It's a very important question, ma'am. And I can talk about it from the point of view of a business leader. We like to believe that we are creating business leaders of tomorrow. And students who are here will later on assume a lot of responsibilities. Now, one of the critical things that they have to ensure is everybody is treated equally. There's equitability in terms of how you look at people. People should get equal opportunities. So we talked about, when we talked about respect for others, respect for other means that whether the person has the same capability, also the person will be allowed to speak and to talk. Now, inclusiveness is about actually making everybody feel part of the team. So team building is yet another activity, because it's more of an organization activity. I did not talk about it here, but in a football match, you can have the best goalkeeper or you can have the best forward. You will not be able to win the tournament. Argentina with even Messi around, it took them such a long time to ultimately win the World Cup. So individuals or groups of individuals will not be enough. The entire organization has to work in the same direction. So if you do not have a situation in your organization where everybody feels part of the same group, and it is the role of the head of that particular unit or that particular organization, it is not only the problem of the chief executive. It's a problem of the local manager, it is a problem of the supervisor, it's a problem of the regional manager, of the general manager. It's everybody's problem. Within their ambit of operation, they have to ensure everybody is including, because you are otherwise going to pay salaries to people who are not going to be fully able to contribute to the organization. So creating an atmosphere of inclusiveness is one of the big and most important tasks of a manager. So there is actually no question of that being, taken with any less seriousness. In most corporate setups, they do, because they appreciate, they know that I am paying for this person, paying for the person's skills, paying for the person's contribution to work, and it is a must. Then otherwise, there's something wrong with the manager. That's the way, as you know, as I have been a corporate manager for a long time. That's the way I would look at it. But I don't know whether it really answers your question. These things happen because, the dynamic group, you look at group dynamics, people like to deal with people who are comfortable, they are comfortable with. So I find when you have these classes and we give them assignments, students will not like to form their own groups. So sometimes you don't allow them to form their own groups, because in the organization you cannot choose who's going to be there in your team. Organization, different people will be there. And if you have all similar thinking people, you will have this problem of what they call group thinking. If you remember, during the US or UN sanctioned discussion on Iraq, they were very much concerned that Iraq is building chemical weapons, and that was one of the basic premises on the basis of which President Bush approved that attack, or that military action on Iraq. At the end of the day, I don't think they could find any chemical weapons there. But so there are a lot of discussions how this happened. Some of the best minds in USA, they were discussing this, and this is the basic premise on which they went to war, and they found that it's not there. Then some people said that, you see, the closest advisors of President Bush were all his friends, people who thought similarly. They are all similar thinking. So similar thinking people will think similarly, and then they did not allow enough opportunity of dissent. So in any organization, any group, any team, it is very important to inculcate the fact of dissenters. You need to have people who think differently. As the boss, as the leader, you have to allow people who think differently the platform to discuss, because they are the people who are going to shoot your plan full of holes. They are the people who make the odd questions. They ask the difficult questions that people don't want to hear. And it is absolutely imperative to nurture these people, only for the fact that they will come out and find faults with what the others are saying, so that all the aspects of a decision, all the aspects of an action are discussed thoroughly, and all the negatives come out before you go to the actual field or the market and implement that. So inclusiveness is absolutely critical. Without that, you're wasting the company's money. That is the way I would look at it from an organization's point of view. So I don't know whether I've been
Thank
able
you.
to answer your
Thank you,
question.
sir. No, you have answered. Thank you, sir.
Welcome, ma'am. Any other questions? I think there's somebody who raised their hand. I cannot see it. I think,
Yes,
yes.
it's me. I'm from Baruipur College, Durga Ganguly.
Yes, ma'am.
I've got a question, sir. Like, supposing I've joined a company, and speaking of human values, I've joined a company, and the company has certain rules to follow, as we all know. But then when it comes to my following the human values, somewhere I might have a problem following some of their laws, which might contradict with the values that I possess. So, what do a person do? What do a person? How do you really come out of that problem? Like, you are not really following the your values because you have to keep up with the company laws. So, in contradiction with that, how do someone come out of that problem? I'd like to
Yeah.
you to answer that.
So this is not so uncommon situation, and thank you for raising this question. Now it depends. Now, typically, I would suggest if it is a good company, if it is a forward-looking company, most multinational companies, for whatever we say about them, my experience is that they're more open to these kind of suggestions. They're more open to diversity, and diversity not only in terms of caste, creed, color, gender, but diversity of opinion. So they always provide a platform for difference of opinion, and there are many systems and processes which allow you to express your opinion in terms of value. For example, you may feel that your recruitment process is not fair because it does not consider, let's say, they have a thinking that only boys will be able to do well in a particular kind of a job, and you may have a disagreement. This is a very simple thing. Otherwise, it could be even something so typical, like as I gave that example, somebody wanting to pay a bribe to get business, and your values are clashing against that. So there are two or three things that you can do. If the organization is forward looking, I think you should raise the issue, raise the topic with your colleagues, with your seniors, and see what response you can get. If it is forward looking, somebody will at some point take some action. If it is not, you'll get an understanding that they are not open to this idea, they're not going to change much. So you can keep still trying, but with the kind of job situation, sometimes you may not have the option of alienating people, alienating your seniors. So if it becomes a situation like that, you have to probably do some compromise. But I would advise that you look for another job and find a job where this kind of compromises don't need to be made, because it will reduce your effectiveness. But I am aware with the kind of situation we have in India, such choices are not always available, and that is the unfortunate part of the story. But we must, as I said, first try to make an attempt to make people change, then try to change the company. You don't, they're not ready to accept your views, then I think change them. If that choice is not available, then like many of us do, you accept what you have, but make sure that you don't practice things which are not which are clashing with your ideas. Try to avoid that situation as much as possible, because that is stark reality. We are not having a situation where all options are available. But first, try to change them. Next, change the company. Third, you try to minimize your contribution to those values where it clashes with your moral systems. That's the suggestion that I would normally give, or the way that I would follow personally.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mondal, I think.
I am from a college, an associate professor. I am asking one question about dilemma. Suppose you are in some institution and you have authority and so many colleagues with you, and the situation is that you are failing or you are facing it. The leader is nothing, none but a dictator. He is going on his own, uh, on cherish, and without feeling his subordinates. Uh, so, in that situation, uh, you got some a companion or some colleagues with you to face the problem and to against that move of the leadership. And after all, you see that some are very scared of that situation because they are being scared of from the authority or the leadership. And in that situation, you are getting your number of colleagues which are which who are just following you, just decreased or reduced in number, and ultimately maybe the situation you are alone, and then what would be your duty, and what would be your next uh, next thinking, what to do in the next situation, to fight for that or to win what that situation.
Okay. So it's a not very uncommon situation, but it's a difficult situation. I accept that. It all depends, sir. It depends on the fact that what is the job market like ultimately. Because, technically, what we say, people don't change jobs, they change their bosses. If the bosses are such that they need to be changed, the easiest way is to change the boss and go for another job. But if that option is not available, then you have to think of other ways of handling. Now, what you suggest, yes, certainly one way is to talk to the person and explain what are the issues. Maybe you can all, if they're similar minded people, like you said, go and try to talk to the person, whoever is a lady or a gentleman, and try to express your point of view. And in most corporate situations they will listen, because this is not like a closed system that we normally see in our part of the country in terms of the educational institute, because unfortunately live in one part of the country where the opportunities are very low. But in the corporate situation, these bosses will not be able to survive for a long time, because what will happen is they will not be able to motivate their people. So their people will not support them in their activities. They'll be falling short in their performance, and after some time, their bosses will realize that these people are not able to deliver. And in the long term, the boss will either change himself, or he will stay where he was. He will not be able to grow. But yeah, in other situations where it is not a competitive situation, where options are less, uh, I have only one concern. Every organization has a matter of discipline. So, although you must object to people's behavior if it is not in the right direction, or it is not, what you expect, but if the organization discipline is not maintained, it will impact the organization as a whole. It will impact. See, we are not only employees; we are teachers. We have students who are the reason for our existence. So, overall system should not be disturbed. That's part of our professional ethics. So, it has to be a balance of your personal concerns and issues relating to the boss, and your professional ethics, responsibilities towards the system, the students, and the subject that you are an expert in. So, by all means, if the option is there to move away, please do. If the option is not there, certainly try to explain to the person and make the person change. Even if then the person does not change, you can and you should certainly raise your voice. But my request would be to only look at the fact that the overall system should not become destabilized. That is my humble opinion in this matter.
So should I stop there? Just to on that situation, okay. We must be in anticipation that there will be some change from the other end, from
No,
the leader.
confront the person, sir. I said confront the person. If required with your colleagues, the people who are having similar thoughts, confront the person. Try to change the person.
To change the person means not changing the leadership. Maybe by some of your company, some of your colleagues, maybe in mentality, but they are with you, but not facing physically the situation. Uh, and in that case, you are actually alone. And in that place, when you are putting in that situation, and what should be, it will be something like Ekla Cholore, or something like be quiet and perseverance. You are telling. They see that what goes to the situation there. Yeah, he is actually, or she is.
say if others are not actually looking at the same thing in the way that you are looking at, so that we should also be open to consider the fact that maybe our perspective is not the right one. So I'm not saying that it is the case, but it is always a possibility that why others are not agreeing with me. That is one side. The other is that supposing now you are right, and you are alone, and you are trying to change the person, and the risk is that he may become vindictive. So if he becomes vindictive, it creates problems. Some people are not scared of being singled out in this manner. So it depends on, if you feel that what you're saying is right enough and you can stand up to it, you can stand up to it, but you have to bear the consequences. A lot of people, some of the biggest people who have actually, brought in revolts, they have had to stand up to a lot of it. And but the fact is, শহীদ হয়ে যাওয়া নিজে এরকম একটা পসিবিলিটি আছে. Look at Joan of Arc, what happened to her. She saved the French from the English, and they hardly supported her at that time. Some people wanted to hand her over to the English. She was burnt at stake. So being singled out and let's say trying to do good, which is for everybody, comes with challenges. If you're up to the task, certainly by all means you should do it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for your helping me on all of that situation. Thank you.
I know. As the easiest, as I said, is to change the boss if you can. If that option is not there, so you're stuck.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Anyone have any question that you may ask to sir? Durga, Hasda, do you have any queries?
Sir, this is Paromita again. You have just talked about that cultural globalization, and in my opinion, that cultural globalization is a big hindrance towards the sustainability of our traditional culture. What is your opinion, sir?
Okay, ma'am. What you say is right. It is a sort of a risk of your traditional culture being diluted. But who are we to say what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad? See, like even Rabindranath said that you must be open to the what the other people in other countries are doing. So we give and we take, and hopefully we will evolve to be a better culture, better people. So I have a slightly different opinion on that. I feel that we should all be open and look at what other people do, what other people feel, and maybe certain things they can do better than us, and certain things we can do better for ourselves. If culture is something which has to be practiced by the people, individuals will also make their own choices. So when I let's say interact with somebody from the United States, he will bring to me his culture, and I not necessarily that I will accept everything that he says. Or when I start let's say going and living there, but certain parts of the culture it is absolutely necessary for me to accept because I am going to stay in their land. So it depends on the situation. So individuals will evolve in their own way, and as a group, when the individuals evolve, that is what society becomes. I'm sorry. Yeah. So society is not made of one person, millions of people. So if I don't wear jeans, I cannot stop somebody else from wearing jeans. Or if I feel that divorce is not such a good thing, How can I stop somebody else from getting a divorce? So these are things that it's a group thing. So it is a combination of individual actions of millions of people. So individually, for me to stop or to do something is going to be very difficult. But as a group, we can raise the awareness level of what we are missing if we feel strongly about it, and so that we retain the key, the core of our own culture. But we should not be close to accepting what is good in other people's cultures. So that is what my personal feeling is.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Any other have any question? So I hope so. There is no more questions are there. So I request my colleague, Professor Orna Roy, to give vote of thanks. Orna, are you there? Okay. Maybe due to some technical reason, Orna can't join.
Yes,
So,
yes.
okay,
Yes.
Orna, thank you.
It was not showing up. Huh. I'm having a connectivity issue actually.
Okay, then Orna, instead of you, I'll give vote of thanks. Okay, thanks to all of you for being with us for a long time, and I am very much thanks to Dr. Prosper Prithvi's Bose. Sir have nicely elaborated the topic human values and professional ethics. What should be our ethics? What should be the values of human being? That should be elaborately Sir have discussed with us. I hope so. We have very much enriched, and I am thanks a lot from the behalf of Vidyanagar College and Baruipur College. I I thank you from core of my heart, and I thanks to my principal from Vidyanagar College. I thanks to principal and IQAC of Baruipur College. I thank all the faculty members of both the colleges to help us to conduct the seminar well. And I thanks to all the participants who patiently go through the seminar and participate and actively participate in the question answer session with our distinguished speaker. Thanks to all of you. And last but not the least, we will send you the feedback link in the WhatsApp group. So in the WhatsApp group, you will find, please fill it up. You will find your e-certificate after some time. Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to Prithvi sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
স্যার আপনি রবীন্দ্রনাথের কথা আরেকটু বললে আরো ভালো লাগতো। জাস্ট আপনি যে বললেন আমরা বলবার কে, আমরা এটা নিয়ে মানে কি করে বলি